the Fantasy Boardroom. I am your host, as always, Tycoon, and we have another week of NFL football in the books. So, this week, as we enter the Fantasy Boardroom and we call this meeting to session, talk about how week 6 has come and gone. And now we're all really kind of starting to pay attention and eye our records in our leagues. So if you're 6-0, if you're 5-1, you're feeling pretty good. But the good news is, even if you're 2-4, even if you're 1-5, you're still alive. That's right, 5 alive. So let's talk about how to navigate these coming weeks, depending on the position that your team is in, heading into the middle of the season. So if you're on very solid ground, undefeated, or at 5-1, you probably have pretty good injury luck so far, and or you've hit on your mid and late round picks in a big way. Most likely, you don't need to do too much with your team. But what this could be is a time to tear up from one of your, say, overperforming players to get an actual star. So as far as the stretch run goes. So say you drafted Chuba Hubbard as your RB3. He's doing great. Fantastic. Great job. Way to go. Try to move him for the currently on the shelf Jonathan Taylor, the on-by DeAndre Swift, especially those that are still skeptical of him, even if they have him. Even if a little sweetener is required, so be it. Maybe you hit on Brian Thomas Jr. Freaking wonderful. That is awesome again. Try to move him for the on-by and semi-underwhelming CeeDee Lamb. He's only had 2 big games in 6 weeks. He's on-by, kind of bad vibes around the Cowboys right now. A rare moment that he might, just maybe, be obtainable. I mean, you'll probably get rejected, but it's worth the shot at the moment. Maybe aim for somebody like Tyreek Hill. Tua will be back. And these are folks that you can, get a wide receiver one, because these are guys that you can afford to wait a week or two on if they don't give you something right now, whether you're missing them because they're on bye, waiting for an injured quarterback to come back, or maybe just missing minor time with injury because you're in a great position. So if it costs you a week, big deal. You're fine. You're ready to go for when it really, really matters. So that's what you need to do. And, your trade partner ideally is somebody 3-3 or worse. They really need to win right freaking now. They need that immediate satisfaction. You can help provide them. And if you have a player or two you can lose, make sure you're staying very, very aggressive on waivers. No reason not to. All right, we'll jump into a few questions here before we move on to the next phase here. So what is up, Joe? Howdy to you too, sir. Awesome to have you. Sports Spotlight. Would you trade Pittman for Harrison? PPR, I'm 2-4. If you're 2-4, Harrison hasn't been giving you much, although when Anthony Richardson returns, I'm concerned about Pittman. For most teams, I would say yes, 2-4. I'm a little skeptical. Keep an eye on Anthony Richardson, because if he's coming back and it's not Joe Flacco here in the coming weeks, I mean, especially this week, then I would go ahead and just make that deal. Drop Ridley for Juju. Really don't want to, but I need a wide receiver and don't want to drop AR5 either. I don't blame you for not wanting to drop Richardson from a fantasy perspective. Honestly, let's see, that's tough because I think the Chiefs are in the market for another wide receiver. Now, if they failed, Juju I would rather have. But what would be just very frustrating is to do this and then in a week or two have the Chiefs trade for Deontay Johnson. And all of a sudden, what was the point? So is there anybody else you can drop on that team besides Ridley? Red Solo Cup? Get back to me on that. You got Josh Allen? Okay. Yeah, who else is on your bench? Like fringe player. I mean, there's got to be somebody worse than Ridley you can let go, right? Has to be. Surely. If not, if he's the worst player you need to drop, you're in a pretty good position. And obviously, yeah, don't want to drop Richardson. I understand. So while we wait for that answer, let's move on to the next phase of teams here. So if you're feeling okay right now, you're at 4-2, even 3-3. 3-3, you're still 500, so you're feeling all right. You're not really worried yet. Seems like a big difference between 4-2 and 3-3, and don't get me wrong, there is. But you're just, again, not having to freak out. You probably have lost a key player to injury at some point here, And my advice is to wait them out. Kind of like the top teams, scour your league for a team with the star who might be underperforming that's on a bye and needs help now. Again, with 2 and 4, 1 and 5 in particular. Now you can't afford to wait as much as they can, so you need to be a little as those top teams. So you do need to be a little bit more selective. You can't really sit here and drop a week or two, especially if you're one of the 3 and 3 teams. But you're still in a position of strength, so try to use it. And don't sell low on anybody you have that's hurt or that has better days ahead. Never performs and need a big hitter. Yeah. And I can understand where that's definitely the appeal for Harrison over Pittman. I mean, I do think better days are ahead for Harrison. I would go ahead and do that if that is on the table, the more I think about it. I know Harrison quite hasn't lived up to what we're all hoping for thus far, but the kid is just too talented. Now, if your team is in trouble, you're at 2 and 4, 1 and 5. You're almost, maybe even there as far as panic mode goes. But the good news is this. If you are in this position with a 2 and 4, 1 and 5 team, very likely you've suffered multiple injuries to multiple key players that you have, and many of these guys are now on their way back, which is nice. So there's still hope. And that if that isn't the case for you, even if it is, it's still time to get aggressive for trade help that will help you win right now. Week 7 and week 8, you need to win right now. There's no sense in planning or waiting for the future after week 8 if you can't even get to the future. If you're at 2 and 6, 1 and 7 there, you're in real deep trouble. That's hard to pull out of. So you have to get there first. So trade Taylor if you have him, trade DeAndre Swift if you have him, trade Tyreek, trade Nico. Or if you have another particular healthy stud, trade him for 2 really reliable, solid players. That's really what you go for. 2 solid starters. Just got offered Neighbors and Pollard for either Brees or Kyren. I mean, I've been looking bad with my fake Kyren take during draft season, obviously. And especially with Puka Nacua and Kupp out, he's really been the entire show for the Rams. So, but man, Brees, without even scoring, what do you have, 20 PPR points yesterday or last night? I wouldn't trade Brees. I would probably, and Pollard, I'm good with Pollard. I would trade Kyren for Neighbors and Pollard. I would definitely do that. Like, no question. So good luck with that, Pareko. Wait, Pareko, Blues fan. Oh, man. That's all right. You're here. We appreciate it. Keon Coleman, already dropping him for Komet, who was just Saturday. We're going back to Red Solo Cups. Excuse me, question about dropping Ridley for Juju and who else he has to drop. So Keon Coleman, he's already out. That's what I would have said. So Ridley, Waddle, Chubb, don't really need him. Got Trace Brown, Redding bench already with Braylon Allen, Brees Hall. Ridley or Braylon Allen? I would probably just shoot. This is a conundrum. Braylon is probably the one I would actually lean more. I would probably want to keep Ridley because you'll have Chubb, Brown, Brees Hall, and you're already going to lose Coleman for Komet. So I would drop Braylon Allen and then go from there. Yeah, I would drop Braylon Allen for Juju. That would be my call here. Daniels versus Carolina or Stroud versus Green Bay? Daniels versus Carolina for me. Honestly, Daniels, I'm starting over basically anybody that's not Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson the rest of the way. He's earned that. So, yeah, I'm riding JD as hard as I can. Friday was offered Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill for my Drake London and Jameson Williams, and I declined it. Did I mess up bad? I already have Waddle. It depends on the record of that team. Because I probably would have prefer Adams and Hill, especially with what we know now with the Adams trade. Jameson is just so boomer bust. And London with the Falcons, and yeah, London, don't get me wrong, I love London, but there will definitely be some more down games here with the Falcons. And Tyreek Hill will probably be very underwhelming until Tua's back, but he will be back. So, yeah, I would say it probably was a mess up, but it's not the worst. You still have good players. Yes, I assume if you're dropping Coleman for Komet and you have McBride, you're just going to drop Komet after. Oh, no, wait, why are you picking up? He's the one on bye. Yeah. Honestly, I would just pick up Juju instead of Komet, frankly, as far as Coleman goes, and keep Braylon Allen. For a moment, I thought you were picking up Komet for bye week purposes, but realized he's the one on bye. Oh, that 2019 series, I'll never forget either. That was kind of the end of my favorite era of the Sharks. Sorry, we're going to sidebar into hockey for a second here with Parego, but that Sharks team should have won the Cup. The Blues injured damn near our whole team in that series, and we had bad karma after a bad referee call where we scored in overtime off a hand pass. Literally nothing went our way after that. It wasn't even our fault. The ref screwed up. So, and then from there, the Sharks disintegrated into a rebuild, but we're finally back, baby. Celebrini is the real deal. Better watch out. And you already saw it. We played you guys game 1. You guys did come back because our defense and goaltending is still terrible. But Celebrini is the real deal, baby. Can't wait. Team is Anthony Richardson, Kyron Williams, James Cook, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Jake Ferguson, flex. Oh, Chase Brown. Chase Brown's in your flex. All right. Bench Ladd, Wicks, Irving, Ridley, Ford. Anyone you'd want to send off? I think with how well Ray Davis played, it's going to cut into James Cook a little bit. So if anybody is looking at trades and just looking at the game log, this might be a week to try and see if you can still get really high value for him. But no, I think this is just a good team, frankly. And Pittman, I would try to get off of for when Anthony Richardson is back. I think Richardson is worse for Pittman than Flacco. But I like the bench. Jason Manoa, rate your team? All right, sure. Why the hell not? 3-3, Jordan Love, Kyron Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, George Kittle, and now Devontae Adams as flex. Broncos defense, great. Washington kicker, great. Thanks for being on. You're very welcome. Thank you for being here. I mean, you guys are the ones that have the complete choice of joining me here, and I appreciate it. I mean, I have a choice to do this, don't get me wrong, but I'm just doing this for fun. No, this isn't ESPN. I'm not getting paid. I just love to talk fantasy, baby. It's just a labor of love. Rate your team, though. Little concerned about running back with Ramondre. You know, honestly, though, this is a really B-plus solid team. I mean, yeah, B-plus. This team can definitely win it all. Like, this is the type of team that could definitely go right in the playoffs and do it. So, really good. 5-1. Oh, yeah, you could have afforded to wait out Hill, so yeah. I would try to get that deal back if you can. I don't know if they will now with some Adams hype, but you never know. Appreciate it. Yes, please hit the like button, especially if you're on the Fantasy Boardroom channel. I know most of you are probably on Get Right, and if you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe there. But my solo channel, you know, I'm still under 100. I'm just trying to get to 100. That's the goal. Just 100 for me. And for Get Right, man, we're trying to get to the moon, so as a team here. I mean, we're definitely carried by our CEO, our anchor, Rasta, Frank, Classic Mike, you know, the real core OGs here of Get Right. But, man, any help and support you can provide. I mean, I always feel weird asking for likes and subscribes, but, you know, when we have a good friend like Joe here in the chat helping pump us, I'm just going to take the opportunity to take advantage. So thank you for that, Joe. Yeah, no, Tua could go down again. I know you regret pulling the trigger, then Tyreek gets hurt, and then Waddle becomes Tyreek. Essentially, I mean, Tyreek's held up pretty well over his career, especially for a dude his size. He's thick. You know, he's strong. And as for Tua, you never know, but it's the kind of guy I'm always wanting. I mean, Tyreek's been essentially a top 3 wide receiver almost every year after his rookie year. So I'm always willing to take that chance. Is Ridley finally a dropper, or do you believe Callahan they're basically going to attempt to force him the ball more? Well, I mean, he even had 8 targets on Sunday. Problem is, Will Levis. So I mean, I don't think it's going to be 0 for 8 again, don't get me wrong. But no, I wouldn't drop him. I wouldn't drop him. I'm not having him in lineups, but I'm still not dropping. I think Callahan is going to really try to make it work. He is their best receiver, and he's been paid. They've got to make it work to a degree. You wouldn't secure a top 7 tight end as backup rest of the season. Just feel like that's value referring to Komet. If the Chiefs don't add a wide receiver, I mean, Juju might be a top 15 receiver the rest of the way, which I would value that a lot more than a top 7 tight end. And I'm not convinced that Komet stays at that level. I think there's going to be a lot of rotation with favorite targets for Caleb Williams the rest of the way. I really do. You're going to have DJ Moore huge weeks, Keenan Allen huge weeks, Komet huge weeks, Odunze huge weeks, and not too often do I think it's going to be like this past Saturday where it was multiple touchdowns to both Allen and Komet. I mean, he's still really good. I like Komet, but I also don't. If you have a player like McBride, I'm not really worried about having a backup tight end. 2 and 4, damn. It's not that I don't like Cook, but I do think his volume's going to decrease a little bit with how well Ray Davis played. Still, don't trade him away lightly, though. You need to get a good return. You need to treat him like his ranking. Devontae Adams, top 15 rest of the season, if you ask me. And I don't think Wilson takes that much of a hit. He'll just be more open in the middle of the field with room to run. It will open things up for Wilson. I actually do think this is good for Wilson. That offense is going to look... I think Adams is going to change a lot for that offense. I don't know if he'll be top 15. He should be, though. I mean, it's Devontae freaking Adams back with Aaron Rodgers. Who would you target instead of Cook? Back to your team, sports. Pittman would be the other guy I'm trying to trade away. Jordan Mason, who was hurt. Oh, yeah. CMC will be back in a few weeks in theory, so but he's still good to have. No, your team is a B+. Really like your team, Jason. So you don't mind having Waddle and Tyreek? I do not. Flex play would be Ridley or Juju because wouldn't want to play both Waddle and Tyreek, right? Unless phenomenal matchup. Now when Tua's back, I'm happy to play both most weeks, quite honestly. We see in a lot of years that there can be multiple wide receiver ones on the same team. And in an offense like Miami's, when it's going right, no problem. I mean, Tyreek's, deep guy, a lot more possession and a lot more, just PPR points coming from Waddle. They can both absolutely, I mean, in a great day, right, you can get, say, 6 for 150 and 2 touchdowns to Tyreek, along with, say, 8 for 80 and maybe a touchdown to Waddle. That's beautiful. And that's very doable in a lot of matchups for the Dolphins. So not just phenomenal matchup. Most weeks I would do it. Tyreek, less than 1% body fat. Dude's ridiculous. He truly is. Like, he's a physical freak. Will Levis had like 90 yards total when Tennessee is going to be down 2 touchdowns. Will throw heavy. Very true. Very true. I got to start reading these before I pull them up, though. If Davis is available on waivers, I'd target him and hold Cook for now. That's probably a better idea, Joe. Pittman, I'm still looking to get rid of. I always thought Komet is a bum too, and saying top 7 sounds wild, but I did some research. He's been top 7 tight end the last 3 years. And although I don't love Caleb Williams, he's looking good. Now, Caleb is getting better by the week. Guy is a stud. I mean, not every week is going to look as good as the last couple of weeks, but have full faith in Caleb, I say. And Komet, usually up there, but they haven't had other receiving options in the previous years, really. And it's been Justin Fields. Now, in this case, over the course of a full season, with having DJ Moore and Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze available to him and DeAndre Swift playing well, I just don't think there's going to be enough there for Komet to stay at top 7. It's not that he's a bum. Actually, Komet's a good player. Waiver priority order, Bigsby, Pierre Strong, Sean Tucker, Guarendo. Bigsby, probably that exact order, frankly. Bigsby, Strong, Tucker, Guarendo. Anytime, man. Thank you for the time. Please join us next week, every Tuesday. Usually a little bit earlier than this, but hey, maybe being on a little later is a little better for the show. A lot more activity than usual, so appreciate it, guys. All right, so very last category of team that we're going to talk about as far as how to navigate the rest of the season. Desperation, 0-6. Now, to be honest, you're probably cooked. And I hate to say it. And I even hate to say it more because the greatest season that I ever had, personally in fantasy, was going from 0-6 to win the championship. Didn't lose again after going 0-6, but I was carried by the strength of Chris Johnson's 2,000-yard season. He just absolutely destroyed the league for me, took me all the way. So no one's really having a season quite like that in the NFL this year, so I don't think you're going to be able to accomplish such a feat. It's going to be a big challenge to even get back to 500 at any point. I'm not saying give up. Make sure you're still trying, but I wouldn't spend too much of your free time trying to cook up all these perfect trades. Unless you're in an incredibly high stakes league and you need to try and do everything you can to get that money back. And if you're in Dynasty, just start selling everything you can for 2025 first and second round picks. And in redraft, don't spend too much time on it, but kind of get wild with your trades. Just see what you can do. I mean, just do what you can to perhaps win that week, right? Just win the week. Make trades with the objective of what's going to be good for me in week 7, then what's going to be good for me in week 8. Almost treat it like DFS. Forget the long term. You just have to win one at a time. That's the only chance you might have to go on that big run that you pretty much have to have. We've got my boy Season in the house. What's up, my guy? Dobbins, Mixon, Bucky, Monty, Najee. Start 2. Mixon and Monty. It is a longer season now. We do have the extra week. That's true. That helps a little bit. We've got, 14 weeks of regular season. So, even still, if you're 0-6, that means you can only afford to lose one more in order to, at best, be at 500. Treat it like DFS. And before we get out of here, we can obviously answer any more questions that you guys may have. But I'm going to go through just some general thoughts following the activity of Week 6. First of all, we've been talking about Cole Kmet, Caleb Williams. Well, the Bears are for real, is what I'm saying. Now, it's been an easy slate the last 4 games. And so, obviously take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But the defense is good, guys. I'm telling you, the Bears have a top defense in the NFL. DeAndre Swift has been unlocked. Caleb is improving every single week. The receivers are all healthy. Cole Kmet looks good. This is a really strong team. I'm very optimistic for them. Now, the wide receiver output, like we kind of just talked about in regards to Kmet, who is the hot guy every week is probably going to vary week to week, kind of like the Saints of old with Sean Payton. But Caleb and Swift are here to stay. I would still start DJ Moore weekly. And despite the weak output in London, I'm so not worried about him. He should typically still get enough volume to at least be flex-worthy along with his spike weeks. It's a really good football team, and they're really coming into form. The Jags, on the other hand, the team's in a rough place right now. Peterson might get fired after they lose to the Pats on Sunday. Trevor Lawrence needs help. He hasn't been great himself, obviously, but he's also gotten little support. Travis Etienne is still the RB1 in Jacksonville, everybody. He's just hurt. He had the shoulder injury going into the last game. Now hurt his hamstring. He's going to be week to week. So, over the next couple of weeks, who knows how this is going to go. Could be a few weeks, but Bigsby still can't hang on to the ball. And outside of the big 2 touchdown runs he had 2 weeks ago, pretty inefficient and unimpressive. And Dearness Johnson is not hanging on to the job over Etienne once he's back and healthy. So if you have Etienne, just write him out. He will get his role back when he is healthy. Third one here, King Henry. I actually don't have a specific take on Derrick Henry. I simply wanted to give him a shout out because he is the king. What a dream marriage in Baltimore. What a freaking stud King Henry is. trade Mooney and Brian Thomas Jr. for Devontae Adams? I would. Thomas has been great, but yeah, I would do it. And Mooney's been great too, but I still would do it. I'm Adams with Rodgers is too tempting. Do you think Deontay Johnson can stay a weekly top 12 Dalton QB? I do. I mean, maybe not always top 12, but I think he should be in the top 15 range most weeks with Dalton, with a few big weeks in there. A lot of people think Swift is so overrated, but you're barking up the wrong tree, Solo Cup. I'm sorry, bro. But look at the previous weeks, even before Jacksonville. It's not just Jacksonville. He has been on what's it, 3 weeks now? Just absolute tear. Guy's crushing it because it's finally being used appropriately, and they're opening up a little bit of space for him. He is a little bit he was overrated in the past. He's not anymore. We kind of know what he is. He's not a guy that can create his own space, but when he has it, he's very, very dangerous. I do hope they trade Deontay Johnson too. He wasn't top 5, but he was still really good. But same thing, like he wasn't creating his own space. He was behind the best damn freaking line in the league. The Lions were, I mean, at least a top 3 line at worst. So he had plenty of room to roam. I mean, he was really good with the Eagles last year. And he started off with 3 bad games and has been great since. I mean, there's been a lot more good from Swift than bad. And with a lot of talent around him that they have to respect, they can never stack the box on Swift. Not with Caleb at quarterback and not with the weapons that he's got. I don't know if Chris Godwin will stay top 10 the rest of the season, but I do think he'll be, again, within that top 15 for sure. Very good week to week. Which I love. I was all in on Godwin this offseason, and he is paying off in a big way. But yeah, top 10, I'm not that confident to say he'll definitely stay top 10, but he's going to be a top receiver for sure. Should I trade Bucky, Pittman, Mooney, Tolbert for JT and Devontae Smith? Yeah, absolutely. I would do that in a heartbeat. Bucky Irving, Michael Pittman, Darnell Mooney, and Jalen Tolbert for Jonathan Taylor and Devontae Smith. The only way I would not do this is if you are under 500. So you need to be at least 3-3 or better. If you're 2-4 or worse, you need to win now, and you can't afford to not have JT play this week. This is really hard. Godwin by a nose. People might have a bigger gap to it, but for me, it's not that big of a gap. But Godwin just enough for me to say it with relative confidence. Put it that way. I would rather have Godwin. All right, back to the general thoughts here. Cardinals worries. Even though I said go make that trade for Harrison, I am starting to worry about him a little bit. I wasn't really so much before. He has had a big week, but he's been disappointing. But even worse, overall, the Arizona offense has been kind of disappointing. That's what really worries me, not so much Harrison himself. He is too talented to fail. So my redraft thoughts or prospects for him have sunken to as low as I've probably had them at any given point. Which is to say, I still think he could be a wide receiver too. But before, I thought, wide receiver 1 was still in his range of outcomes, whereas I'm not so sure that it is anymore. My apologies, folks. Having a little technical difficulty over here with my monitor. There we go. All right. So I'm not giving up on him, and if you can get him at a bargain, I'm still for that, but it's not pretty so far. The Saints, outside of Kamara, avoid all these fools while Carr is hurt. Shaheed, well, he's now hurt as well. Hill also hurt. Olave hurt. It's just ugly over there. So avoid all Saints outside of Alvin Kamara. Spencer Rattler had one good quarter, but I've never really been a believer in Spencer Rattler, frankly. Just fade these brothers. Tampa Bay offense remains incredibly legit under Baker Mayfield's career renaissance. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, we just talked about. They're both locked in weekly starters, as is the starting running back, whoever that may be. on a given week, whether it's Rashad White or Bucky Irving. Whoever is starting should be starting for you. And Kate Otten is a weekly streaming candidate at tight end. This offense is so much fun. This whole situation is so much fun, especially Chris Godwin. And also now in an offense that utilizes the slot in a big way. Derrick Henry ruined Mark Andrews' season by making him a blocking tight end. Hey, Mark Andrews coming back around. The last 2 weeks have been good. For those of you who are willing to be patient with Andrews, the last 2 weeks you have been paid off. And I continue to believe in Mark Andrews. Mandrews, baby. Are you a Judy buyer after the trade today? Is Deshaun Watson still the quarterback? Whatever the answer to that is the opposite answer to this question. No, I'm not buying Jerry Jeudy as long as Deshaun Watson is healthy and starting for the Cleveland Browns. Talking about Mark Andrews, he should get half a point for creating holes. And if they got blocking points, tight ends did, George Kittle would be on every team I have. Cleveland Browns, speaking of them, so we have news, obviously, and that is Amari Cooper is no longer a Cleveland Brown, which is why Rafi asked the question of, are we a Judy buyer? No. So Cooper to the Buffalo Bills. That is freaking awesome. Actually, we'll just touch on that after. So the Browns, though, now it's an even worse prospect than where I'd written this up last night. Nick Chubb is expected to be back this week, but outside of him, with Watson at the helm, as I was just saying, it's hard to have any optimism for anybody. Regardless of how despicable of a human Deshaun Watson is, his fall off in his play has just been freaking insane. I mean, he was a top 5 quarterback, without question. And now he legitimately looks like he doesn't know how to play football. Like he's never played football before in his life. It's unreal. I will say, though, I believe in karma, and Deshaun Watson really strengthens that belief. That's for sure. And the Browns. They all got what they deserve. Falcons. The offense is finally in gear. Cousins is in form. The receivers and Pitts are producing. Algier does remain a thorn in our side. But despite all the complaints about Bijan Robinson, I've heard a lot. People complain, just very frustrated. But guess what? He is RB7. And he's exactly 4 points away, less than 1 point a game, from being the RB4. So Bijan's fine. Still should be giving less to Algier, but Bijan is doing his job. And the last note here, David Montgomery, my last thought of the week. David Montgomery is just a beast, man. He might prove to be the best running back pick in drafts, period. Notwithstanding, say, like Jordan Mason with McCaffrey not even having played yet. And Jordan Mason will also lose relevance when CMC is back. But David Montgomery, man, he just produces. That's all he does. Produces. RB10, and he just received a 2-year extension. He's a focal point of this Lions offense. It's not changing. And he's a really likable dude. You love to see it. Like these are the things that make you feel good about football and feel good about sports at times. And that's kind of the last of my random thoughts, except for the trade. So Cooper to the Bills, I would look to try and, well, you're not going to be able to swoop Cooper now. There's going to be hype through the roof. So if you have been having to deal with a bust of a pick thus far this year, congratulations to you for hitting a bit of a lottery ticket here midway through the year. That is awesome. I'm very, very optimistic for Cooper the rest of the way, starting in week 8, not so much this week. And Devontae Adams, yeah, probably top 15 the rest of the way, like Solo Cup said earlier. It's good for Wilson, good for Breeze. The offense should find a new gear with Adams in tow. So we will get back to the questions here before we get the hell out of here. Deshaun Watson has to be QB. They laid him 250. I mean, that's the prevailing thought, but sunken cost fallacy. I mean, the money's spent regardless. There's no reason to double the pain by continuing to trot this asshole out there. Judy hasn't been bad this year, but I'm still not looking to acquire anybody that's catching passes from Deshaun Watson. It's just there's a lot of other a lot of other basket I'd place my eggs in. Can I pick 3 for you, please, Roberto? What up? Sure. Let's see what we got. Chase, Garrett Wilson, Deontay Johnson, T, or Jaden Reed. I assume just for this week. I haven't really looked at the matchups this week, but Chase is every week. I'm probably going to say Garrett Wilson and Jaden Reed. Let's just take a quick peek here. See who these guys have. Deontay will probably be a sit because that's a really strong group of receivers. So what do we have here? All right, Jaden Reed's got Houston, so probably actually won't be Reed. The Bengals have Cleveland. In Cleveland, Carolina. Where's Carolina? Washington. Ooh, actually, probably would be Deontay. And then the Jets. 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 Oh, against the Steelers. Chase, Deontay, and still Garrett. Yeah, Chase, Deontay, Garrett. Although you really can't go wrong. That's just a really solid group. Sorry for such pauses there. That was just a really hard decision. Nice job with building that team. Rafi meant, am I a Cooper buyer? Yes, if you can get him at a decent price. I don't know if now with the news that somebody is going to be eager to trade him at a great price, but yes, definitely would be looking to buy Cooper if he's obtainable at a reasonable cost. I think he'll do very, very well in Buffalo. He'll be, I think, rejuvenated a bit. I don't think he liked Watson. Don't think he liked playing with Watson. Trade Brooks for Chuba. Other options are Mostert, Dubs, and 1 and 5. I hate it long term, but if you're 1 and 5, you kind of have to. I would. You need points today. I don't love Dubs against Houston. Mostert, I mean, with 2 out, I just don't really like anybody on that offense. I'm still playing Tyreek every week, but otherwise, hate it. Ozier did help a lot of owners dealing with injuries, but he also capped the ceiling of the person that we drafted in the first round of Bijan Robinson, and I care about that a lot more. Oh, but you're one of them owners, of course. Well, I'm happy he helped you. He didn't help me finish even higher in DFS than I already did with my Bijan lineup. Could have won more money, damn it, instead of 10 cents. Do you think Kirk has more weapons in Atlanta than he did in Minnesota? No. Not really. I mean, when everybody was between Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, was it Osborne? I mean, that was a really good group. I mean, this is Pitts and London. Love Mooney is playing really well. Don't get me wrong. I think he's being elevated a little bit by Kirk, but he's good. But I don't think he's better than Jordan Addison, for instance. I think it's on par. I mean, he's got a better running back in Bijan Robinson than he did in, at least in the last couple seasons of Dalvin Cook. So overall, if you factor in the running game too, I guess yes. But the receiving group, pass catching group, including tight end, was better for him. At least at their best versus what we've seen so far with the Falcons was a little bit better in Minnesota for him. Probably Adams, actually. I just think Rodgers is going to look to make a point there. Can always count on David Montgomery to get you at least 15 points PPR. It's a great floor, especially for a flex spot. Yeah, I mean, even I think his true floor is still like 10 points, probably double digits, damn near most weeks. I mean, that's kind of the worst games. And then, yeah, pops for those 20 points on a fairly consistent basis with how often he finds the end zone. So, can't sit Reed. I mean, I get that. That's why. I don't know. I think I'd play Deontay over him this week, though, given the matchup. Houston's good. Haven't been able to decide either. Feel like Green Bay versus Texans is a potential shootout. It might be. I'm not as convinced. I respect LaFleur, I respect Jordan Love, but I also respect D'Amico Ryans in that defense, and defense travels. I don't think they're going to go put up 40 or anything on Houston. I don't think this is going to be a big shootout. I really don't. I think this is actually going to be a much lower scoring game than many anticipate. Yeah, Commanders might have the worst secondary in the league, certainly one of, so I wouldn't want to say them either. It's really, the question is Garrett or Reed. That's where I was struggling. For me, Deontay and Chase are absolutes. Jaden Reed versus Garrett Wilson that's really the sticking point. Wilson will be crying for a trade after 2 weeks. No, I don't think so. I really don't. Wilson, I think, is a pretty mature young man, and I think that he's going to take every opportunity to learn and grow, or learn as much as he can from one of the greats and one of the elites we still have in Davante Adams. Adams isn't washed yet, so there was a lot for Wilson to learn. I think he's going to be a much better player for it, and I think he's smart enough to realize that. Yeah, what A and B, exactly. I don't know if both have quite 1,300 yards, 10 TDs. I don't know if the offense is quite going to be that explosive, but still going to be really good. And I think both can certainly be top 18 receivers together without much trouble. Yeah, I'm not sitting Deontay against Washington. Just not. I'm not. If you have a good receiver going up against Washington, it's an auto start for me, not even a consideration. So I can't get behind that. We're going to disagree here. Solo Cup. Just to win a playoff game if everyone is healthy comes January. I mean, they're 2-4. They need to go on a run just to get to the playoffs. I don't even think the playoffs are assured. I do believe they'll get there. Don't get me wrong, but far from. We're making a big assumption saying that they're even going to get to January. I'm not sure Wilson is sold on Rodgers, the coach. I'm not sure either. But I don't think he's going to be demanding his way out of there. I still think he's smarter than that. Although, I'm not a big Rodgers fan personally. I don't care about New York. I don't care about the Jets, so bring on the drama. I think they did Saleh a little dirty. I'm not saying he wasn't a problem. I'm just not sure he was the problem. I don't think he should have been fired just yet. So that's just me. Maybe a few other people, but yeah. And I wouldn't mind seeing Wilson somewhere else. Be kind of fun, but nah. All right, guys. Well, it seems like we are winding down with questions. That's really all the thoughts that I had. So I think this is where we are going to call it. Oh, except for this last thing. Adams has not fallen off. He is not washed. He probably wasn't even hurt the last couple of weeks, frankly. So, all right, fine. One more, Cam. You got in just in the nick of time. Cam the Ham. Team is Mayfield, Henry, Mixon, Diggs, London, Jordan Mason, tight end Andrews, benches Geno, CMC, Davante Adams, Amari Cooper. Look at you. That's a great day for your bench, baby. Bucky Irving, Michael Pittman, Darnell Mooney, Tolbert, 10-man PPR, 4-2, stand pat or make trades. I don't think you need to be making trades. The only area that I could see potential improvement is quarterback, but what you have Henry and Mixon with CMC coming back, great running back room. Diggs, London, Adams, Cooper is wonderful at wide receiver. And you have Jordan Mason until CMC comes back, even though Mason just got hurt, so might have a week or two of Correndo. We'll see. Tight end Andrews, he is coming back on. I wouldn't be too aggressive in making trades, actually. This is a really, really good team, Cam. Damn. Woo! That's really freaking good. Hunter Henry, a pickup with May behind center. Tight end is whatever. Who's your tight end? I don't advocate picking him up as a backup tight end. I don't believe in rostering a backup tight end in most cases, unless you somehow tried to go bully TE and have McPorta or McBride and Laporta. So, yeah, you are stacked, man. Here, just take your fortune and run. The trades happened for you in reality, Cam. Just, you are wonderful. What up, what up, what up? Rasta has joined us. He's pulling a me. This is what always happens when I go into his show. I'm like, oh, guess what? I'm here. Oh, they're still live. Frankie Rasta, the boys. And then Rusta's like, oh, Tycoon's in the house. Oh, we're still here. Yeah, actually, we're about to sign off. Yeah, Rasta, we're about to sign off here in a minute. So, I hate how the tables have turned. Thank you, Rafi. Nah, I'd say you're more the man. You're entertaining in the league chats. I just get in here on video and blabber like an idiot. Tight end on bye. Oh, well, yes. Tight end on bye. I think this is a great attacking spot for Hunter Henry. If there's ever a week to stream Hunter Henry, it is this week against Jacksonville. Absolutely, he can get 10 plus targets game. So for this week, yeah, if you're just looking to stream him this week with your tight end on bye, hell yeah. I would definitely go with Henry this week. All right, truly, that does do it. This is where I got to call it for the evening. But I thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for your time, because it is the most valuable thing that you have. It is the one thing you cannot buy, the one thing you cannot replace. And I'm humbled and grateful that you've chosen to spend some of it with me, to share it with me, for us to share the show. This was a great show, everybody. I really appreciate all of the activity engagement. This was fun to chop it up with you guys instead of just spewing thoughts. It's always much more fun to actually interact with you guys. That's honestly, as we get out of here, that's the whole reason to do it. I mean, I can sit here and I don't spout off takes to have receipts and then go at the end of the year and be like, see, look, I told you I'm so fucking good at fantasy. No, on a week-to-week basis, I want us to talk and I want us to help each other in our leagues so we all win our leagues, especially our money leagues. And at the end of the year, we're all in here counting our money and laughing together. Ha 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 ha. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just help us all win. And then after we win, we can all brag together. That's the point. Oh, come on, Russell. A fundraiser event with the daughter. You see, me, I'm just like doing nothing. You're over here doing something legitimate, having a reason not. If you're at a fundraiser event, why are you even pulling me up now? Go raise money with and for your daughter. All right, man. And all right, fine. One last bit of self-promotion since Joe kind of pushes me to it. I appreciate you, Joe. Please, yes, hit that subscription button and like button. Like and subscribe. We really, really appreciate it. The more that you guys do that for us, the more we can do for you. We're trying to really boost this network, man. There's a lot of big thoughts in mind, and your support really helps us get there. Appreciate you, Kyle. Appreciate you. I won't throw out your name. Good to see you, though. Thanks for jumping in, man. It's awesome. And we're all degenerates. All right. Truly, that is finally where we're going to leave it. Once again, thank you all so much. Cannot thank you enough once again for your time. And this meeting of the fantasy boardroom is adjourned. Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking nothing but I tune every Friday. Strategies provided.